Anyway, the event itself, the cup, was fun. I thought one of my favorite parts from the book was the bet that Fred and George had, that Ireland would win, but Crumb would catch the snitch, and of course that works out, and they get paid in leprechaun gold. We don't really find that out till a little bit later. But I think the actual World Cup itself, I think the movie did a lot for me in being able to imagine that setting. I don't know if I imagined it quite as awesome in the book only.
Yeah, the movie had that whole atmosphere. There's a bunch of just tents everywhere, a lot of people, a lot of noise.
Well, we got that from the
Yeah.
book as well. I was kind of more talking about like the stadium itself, how it went up vertically. It seems like the best way to watch Quidditch, because Quidditch is got to be a hard sport for a spectator, right? I mean, I guess you get the
Oculens.
Yeah. I guess you fork over some galleons for those, and that's definitely worth it. But otherwise, like if you have seats towards the bottom of the stadium, that's rough.
Yeah.
Omnioculars is the name of the wizard binoculars.
I just want to point this out. The Bulgarian team just reminds me a lot of the 2017 or the 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers. How Victor Crumb is LeBron James and just carries that team to the finals.
Oh yeah, good comparison.
Or in his previous stint with the Cavaliers when he made the conference finals and the finals a few times.
Yeah.
None of the teammates were that notable. But for me, J.K. Rowling is not at her best when she's describing sports. And I have big issues with Victor Crumb catching the snitch. And I know that people say, well, he just wanted to end things on his terms. But from the feel of the book, like things are going by so fast, and it doesn't tell you how long the Quidditch match lasted, but we know that in the past, historically, they've gone on days, even months, I think. So this is the culmination of all of your practice as an athlete. These are the brightest of all of the lights. And to me, like reading the book, it seemed like it was going on half an hour or something. And then all the Bulgarian team just tapped out. And I think Quidditch is a really unpredictable sport, especially in this match, the state of like the havoc that the mascots were wreaking. And it seemed like the refs didn't care at all. It seemed like the Bulgarians could have tried some dirty tactics. Like you never know what could happen. They could have tried to injure some of the Irish players, but I was a little turned off by Victor Crumb catching the snitch when he knew that they wouldn't win. Like I would have waited it out a little bit longer.
So you're expecting more Hogwarts, Slytherin-esque tactics in these situations?
Yeah, exactly. From the previous book, which we discussed, when Slytherin sent in the all-beater squad. But
I would also say. And then one other thing, it seems like if you are down at this point and cannot win by catching the snitch, you're down by more than 150. Shouldn't you be able to basically pull the goalie, same as you would do in hockey, and then like make another chaser? So Crumb becomes a chaser for a while to try to catch up?
Yeah, but then what happens if the Irish seeker catches the snitch while Crumb is...
Well, yeah, that's the risk you take.
Yeah.
That's the only choice you have.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm learning from these books by now, like in the fourth book, is whenever a lot of wizards get together in the same place, it's just inevitably going to turn into chaos. Like, there was no management. You would think that they would at least have the refereeing situation all squared away for the World Cup. But it's like the most poorly managed Quidditch match that's been described. Actually, I don't know about that because there were times when brooms were getting hexed and Dementors were getting allowed onto the field. So
yeah, or players pulling on brooms.
Yeah, the referee, I think, was distracted by the Vila for a while at one point. So that's a good point. It seems like maybe like a Barty Crouch type guy, a stiff, if you will, like a real boring wizard should have been able to impose some order on these types of settings, but really does a poor job.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does its job of exposing us to the international wizarding community, which we were totally blind to before this book. Like, I just thought all the wizards were in England and it was really concentrated, and Diagon Alley was the biggest group of wizards that you could find or something. But that's clearly not the case, as we see here.
Yeah, the only wizards existed in England. If you lived elsewhere, you couldn't be a wizard.
Right. So, and that was sorely needed going into this book because obviously we're bringing in the foreigners later on for the rest of the plot. So it's a good setup. And I thought it was fun bringing in Crumb here and then Crumb appearing in as a hero, as a, Triwizard champion. So that was a nice tie together. It was nice to see Ron completely fanboying when Crumb showed up on Hogwarts.
Yeah, I was hyped when Crumb showed up at Hogwarts too. I was right there with Ron.
So after the cup, so after the cup, they have more mayhem, but this time it's real nefarious because some Voldemort followers, some Death Eaters, if you will, or Death Eater legacies get together and cast the Dark Mark. And well, they don't cast the Dark Mark. They inflict some mayhem until the Dark Mark appeared, and then they run away because really they're afraid of Voldemort coming back. But we know that by the end of the book, we know that it was actually Barty Crouch Jr. that cast that. At this point, it's a mystery.
Are you talking about that?
Mm-hmm. Spoiler.
Yeah, I think we all know Harry Potter 4. So we're talking through the whole thing. I already mentioned Voldemort was coming back as well.
Oh yeah, you did. But this part of the book, it was really chilling because they were just like torturing these muggles. Like going along with what I was saying before, like it's obviously transitioning from being a child's book to more of an adult book. Like at that point, it's pretty apparent.
Yeah.
Right, and by the end, I mean, we actually have someone die, a character that we care about to some extent. So by the time the fourth book is over, we're definitely kind of moving out of YA fiction for Harry Potter.
Yeah, did you guys like the tents at the Quidditch World Cup?
Well, I liked the Weasley's tent.
Well, all the tents were the same. I think they all kind of had like the same technology that's present in Hermione's bag later in the series. You can just stuff as much stuff as possible in the tent. Yeah, the tents are awesome. That's a fun little wizarding quirk.
Yeah, I was kind of wishing that they could have camped out for more in the tent. Had some real Weasley and Harry bonding time.
It's like campfire chats. It's like roasting s'mores.
Yeah, and Hermione could have brought her parents and they could have taught like some muggle camping methods or something.
Yeah, I don't think wizards have ever actually roughed it, right? I mean, because no matter what situation you're in, you can always conjure your comfort, which kind of brings up the question, like, how does the wizard economy work? But that's a whole nother discussion we don't need to get into. Doesn't really make a ton of sense. Anyway, Winky, who is Barty Crouch Sr.'s house elf, gets blamed for casting the Dark Mark. This doesn't make any sense. How could the house elf cast the Dark Mark? So right away, we know something's up, but it just seems very strange that people went along with this. Like, why was there not a more organized investigation into this?
Yeah, it goes into what I was saying before about large wizarding gatherings inevitably turning into chaos. Like the security, it seemed like the security plan for this was just, if anything happens, let's all scatter and run into the woods and everyone freak out. Like there was no protocol whatsoever to follow.
Yeah.
Well, are there in our world, in our Muggle world, really, like in an event like this, like imagine Woodstock or something, like if there was some kind of terrorist attack, would there be a protocol? I think people would just hoof it, right?
You just scatter.
Yeah, but there would at least be a police. And I guess there are Aurors here, but it doesn't make any mention of them really.
Yeah, I mean, they show up after the fact.
Yeah, it really kind of brings into question the whole ability of wizards to organize things. How much do they actually care? How well things are organized? And that brings us into the main part of the plot, which is the Triwizard Tournament, which has some organization, but is built around bending the rules. So even in this point system itself, it's completely arbitrary. And I think we're kind of used to this through like a House Cup situation. So yeah, I'm kind of with you, Dan. It seems like pretty much everything in the wizarding world is arbitrary. there are no real red personalities, if you will. Like everyone's all kind of creative and free spirited and they want to have fun. But when it comes to actually like laying out the groundwork of how things are going to work, they just kind of figure it'll happen on the fly.
Yeah, but I was really excited about. I like the shakeup of having the Triwizard Tournament rather than the regular Quidditch season. Some different type of sporting entertainment.
Yeah, we were ready for something else for sure. I think it would have been fun if this was mentioned a little bit more in previous books. So we kind of knew the Triwizard Tournament was happening. Like if there was rumors of a tournament coming back at your school, don't you think you would like this would be on the calendar for years prior? Like the students would have been talking about it. They would have been going to summer vacation hyped, but it comes up as a complete surprise. It seems amazing. Although I guess it was like some ministry officials knew about it, but they were sworn to secrecy.
Yeah. It's just like a vacation or like, I don't know, thinking about it like that way. Like parents planning a vacation and telling their kids like a day before. I don't know.
Yeah, but that'd be like parents telling your kids. We're talking about organizing an event, coordinating across different international communities. 1,000 galleons are on the line. We're bringing in dragons. We're casting real complex spells. This must have taken years of planning, we assume. I mean,
you'd have thought that at least Rita Skeeter could have caught wind of it.
Yeah, Rita Skeeter should have been tweeting about this for years prior. Woj should have dropped this information on us.
But the fact that the secret was kept made the reveal even more exciting, I'm sure, for the students.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, we are hyped when this happens. We're hyped when we get some visitors to the school in Beauxbaton and Durmstrang. Speaking of visitors, we have some. But we also do get an idea that there are some rules. And the first rule we are told about is that only those that are over 17 can enter the tournament. And this rule will be immediately broken by Harry, we think. And I think once again, you kind of get back to this thing where Harry does something or he gets thrown into something and then is immediately resented by the rest of the school. Like no one ever has Harry's back. It's embarrassing.
I just think it's strange how they make Harry compete. It's like, why are you making a 14-year-old compete in a tournament that could kill him?
It's a little bit of plot armor. They just say, oh, it's a contract, and so he has to. But yeah, it doesn't quite make sense. Seems like they could have just pulled him out.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm willing to accept that. What I didn't understand more was why didn't Harry complain or protest at all, really? Like, I don't know. Why didn't you say, I've had my taste of near-death experience the past little bit, and I kind of wanted just like a chill year here at Hogwarts, but obviously the series he being the title character, nothing can happen without him being involved. But I thought he would have spoken up more adamantly. Because if I was him, I would be frightened with the reputation that this tournament has, that my magic skills aren't up to par. I don't have the technical ability necessary to get past some of this stuff.
Yeah, and I'm 14. My best spell is Expelliarmus. Obviously, I'm not going to do well, right? Why would you think you do well? I guess he's survived some pretty incredible things over the past 3 years. Maybe he just really thrives. He really gets a rush.
In the moment.
He requires this attention. At his heart, he's more of a thrill seeker and really loves all of the attention and celebrity status.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of funny though that how everyone automatically thinks that Harry put his name in the cup, even though it was impossible for him to do so.
Yeah, I guess what other explanation would they have had? But it's really kind of low that Ron, his best friend, is unable to come to his aid in this time where he obviously needs help.
Yeah, point one that Ron is actually the worst character in the book.
Yeah, we can see this trend of
Nathan
this isn't
the
best. Ron.
It's not the best Ron book. But maybe Harry just participated because he knew he was going to be exempt from the exams. Like that's a huge bonus, even though it seems unnecessary considering they have several months in between to prepare. And Harry procrastinates till the last moment every time.
Yeah, how much time does Harry actually spend preparing for any of these tasks? He without help, he would have been completely lost.
Yeah, without help from Meta and Moody, which is probably the coolest character in the whole series, he would have died by the dragon immediately.
Oh wow, should we talk about that take later?
That's an interesting take. I can see a pushback coming on that take, but we'll get to that at the end. We'll get to that on the end of the podcast when we do our top 3 and bottom 3. So it sounds like Matt, I might have a spot on the top 3 of Nathan's. So a couple other things happen as we kind of get ready for the tournament to start.
Oh wait! I wanted to tell you guys about something that I researched because it had always bothered me, the arrival of Beauxbaton in Durmstrang, because Durmstrang just arrives in this boat that comes up out of the lake. But I researched, and J.K. Rowling said that the way that the ship could arrive is because it had magical properties and it could transport itself to different waterways. So,
okay.
Maybe you guys already knew that. I didn't know that.
Kind of like the ship from Pirates of the Caribbean, Davy Jones' ship. What's the name of that ship? The Jolly Roger. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fun. So they do that. They come in on the ship. The Beauxbaton girls arrive on the carriage drawn by the huge horses, and we get Madame Maxime and Karkaroff are some supporting characters that provide a little bit to the book. Not a huge fan of these headmaster and mistresses, but a couple other minor things.
Especially because of what you said before about the arbitrary scoring, and Madame Maxine and Karkaroff and Dumbledore are responsible for the scoring. And there's that one part, I can't remember, is it the first task or the second task when Karkaroff gives Harry a 4 and everyone else gives him a 9? I think it's the dragon task. But the scoring seems like it's totally just made up on the spot. There's no rubric at all.
Well, you have the whole second task where Harry automatically just gets a bunch of points for saving 2 people, even though he got last.
Yeah, that time Dumbledore is able to kind of come to his aid and I guess talk him into it or threaten Karkaroff or something. Who knows what happened there? So we get a little bit of class going on this year, although there's not a whole lot that's actually on screen. One of the classes is our latest flavor of Defense Against the Dark Arts, and it starts off with a bang as Moody literally shows them the most complex dark spells out there in the Unforgivable Curses. This was a nice introduction. I mean, we know that there are curses that can kill, but we didn't know about Crucio or Imperio yet, and these are going to be important curses going forward, and it's nice to see Moody do this, and once again, kind of like Dan says, it kind of like adds to this darker feel to the story, knowing that there's these curses that can do some real harm to people.
Yeah, and the book lets you know that Dumbledore knows for sure that the war is coming, or at least he suspects that it's coming, and Voldemort is rising to power because he lets the students be exposed to these things.
Yeah. That, and I think, it's important for the other books as well, but very important for this book and what happens at the end of the book.
Definitely. And then the other small thing that happens is SPEW, SPEW, Society for the Protection of Elfish Welfare. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hermione starts that up. Hermione is turning into a real cause person, and this is the cause that she has chosen to adopt based off her experience with Dobby and Winky's dismissal. And this is just kind of some more comic relief, to be honest. Like, I get that it kind of hints at a little more, some more serious themes like, equality amongst these different half human races, etc. But I couldn't really take it too seriously.
For listeners that don't remember, in a prior podcast, Stephen totally dismissed the cause of the elves.
Well,
Stephen demeaned the elves.
The problem is, it seems like they're happy as they are. Like they're literally like, this is what they're on the earth to do, and they enjoy doing it and get fulfillment out of it. So it's not like there is this inequality amongst different human races. Like, this is seriously what the elves like doing. So why is Hermione so into it? Like, why can she not realize that this is a weird thing to be into?
What does Dobby do now that he's free? Do you just roam around helping other people, or?
He's helping out in the kitchens a bit. He tries to cheer up Winky. He wears a bunch of clothes, like all on top of himself.
Very proudly.
That. Yeah.
Very proudly. Yeah. And I get that,
Yeah.
but it's like, why? I don't know.
Yeah,
if I was
the
an
whole
elf, I'd be like,
the whole movement doesn't gain a lot of traction in this book. I think the main thing that you learn is that Hermione is just straight up not a good activist. Like, she has good intentions and stuff, but she doesn't try to reason with people. She just kind of strong hands Harry and Ron into joining, and then expects everyone to feel the same because they're friends with her. And then, like, her biggest mistake is she doesn't even talk to the elves. She just assumes they need her help and are kind of incapable of doing anything on their own. I don't know. It seems a little reminiscent of some other activism that we see, without going into much more details.
It's funny that she actually also makes them pay entrance fees. Harry and Ron have to pay for the badges. It's like she's forcing them to be patrons. Very different than being patrons of a cool podcast such as Phantology, where there's a lot of stuff coming back at you. In Hermione's case, she's just like forcing her friends to pay her.
Yeah, and there's a funny scene in the book when Harry thinks that, I forget who it is that's walking in the common room, but he thinks that they might be wearing a spew badge, but it turns out to be the Potter Stinks badge flashing, which I think is one of the funniest parts of the whole book, is the Potter Stinks.
Potter Stinks.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I dismissed the humor too early by saying that the Dursleys required humor, because there's humor throughout, and Fred and George really kind of bring that throughout this book.
The whole betting on all the different events. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and then you have Hagrid with his latest newfangled idea about he wants to raise Blaston and Scroots, which he knows absolutely nothing about. He doesn't even know what they eat. And he just somehow has acquired a bunch of them for the students to experiment with.
Yeah, what happened to Hagrid? He had so much potential going in, and he couldn't have got his mojo back over the summer. He just starts off with Blaston and Scroots.
Yeah, stick to what you know, man. Well, I think maybe they forced him to do that because they were going to be a part of the maze for the third task. And so he was raising them.
Maybe, but do we assume that there's been any planning put into place for the third task? Seems like maybe they're just looking around. Oh, what's the third task going to be? Okay, we've got these big creatures from Hagrid. Yeah, sure, throw them in.
No, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. But I think, now that I'm thinking about it, I think the Hogwarts students would have an advantage in combating the Blast-Ended Scroots because of their experience and care of magical creatures, that the Durmstrang and Beauxbaton students would be at a disadvantage. By the way, how are the Beauxbaton and Durmstrang students maintaining their education during this time?
They don't have any classes.
Really good question. Do they never join any of the students for like a class here or there?
I can't remember it in the book. In the movie they do, but I may be wrong about the book. I don't think they do.
They don't in the book, and I thought that was a scene that was lacking. Like, maybe they could have brought back the dueling club and had dueling between the different schools. Like, if they're going to put as much time into the collaboration of international wizarding communities, you think that they would give them a chance to cross paths more. And they do see each other in the hallways, though. Like, when Ron asks Fleur to the Yule Ball, and obviously Victor Crumb's in the library and stuff.
Yeah, so what are they doing in Hogwarts proper?
Well, I think they're probably all older students, so they have like the same coursework. So maybe they're just doing it in their carriage and their ship, and then they just emerge from those after their classes are done for the day.
So they've done all the required coursework, and they're just doing like their online prep for their final exams.
Yeah, something like that.
That stinks that they have to stay inside their ship or carriage. Like, they've got this huge, awesome Hogwarts castle they could be staying in. Although I guess based off the tent experience, we can assume that the ship and carriage are probably pretty decked out as well.
Oh, it's probably a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we know Dan likes the cruise ship, so you can tell us about all the amenities available there.
Yeah, there's some interesting like co-ed cohabitation things going on because they have their male and female student, like their elite male and female students all together. Never mind.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, we might cut that before people get the wrong idea of what you're trying to say there. But after this is all kind of, so action's getting started, and Harry, everyone still hates Harry, of course, and he doesn't make it any easier on himself by accepting this interview with Rita Skeeter, who is a fun new character. But Rita interviews Harry and ends up publishing this article that's completely off base. She's taking all of these notes while Harry's trying to like stammer through a coherent sentence. Harry, no experience dealing with fame, apparently, like he's learned nothing in his past few years. And then they kind of get ready for the task. No one is on Harry's side still, but he gets some help from Hagrid. I guess Hagrid's always going to be on Harry's side. He's always got his back. So Hagrid takes him out to see the dragons.
I think this is Hagrid's finest moment up to this point.
Yeah, do you think Hagrid just did this on his own? Or like, did Dumbledore tell him to do this? Or he just decided to take it upon himself to do it?
It comes from...
Oh yeah, Moody or Barty Crouch Jr. suggests to Hagrid to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Barty Crouch Jr. also teaches Harry Accio, which I think would be the coolest spell to use.
Yeah, one of the more useful spells that Harry's going to learn, Accio. And so Moody, Mad-Eye Moody gives him some tips. I guess we'll call him Moody for now. Or you guys can choose what you want to call him. Moody Jr. Anyway, we know that there are these dragons. One of them is fearsome and gigantic, and no one's going to survive that one. So, of course, that's the one that Harry is going to face off against the Hungarian Horntail. The other ones are the Chinese Fireball, the Common Welsh Green, and which is the last dragon?
The Hungarian Horntail?
No, I said Hungarian Horntail, Common Welsh Green, and Chinese Fireball. Ooh.
Is there a Norwegian Ridgeback? Or
Norwegian? No. Hunchback something. No.
What is it?
I'm asking you what it is.
Oh, I thought it was a trivia question just to test us.
It is. What's the answer?
I just gave my guess. I don't know what it is.
No, Norbert is the Norwegian Ridgeback.
The Swedish short snout.
The Swedish short snout. Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Nathan. That's the one that Cedric faces, I believe.
Yeah, not fair that Harry gets the hardest dragon, of course. And did you guys, I felt a little bit for Hagrid because it felt like in that scene where he was showing Madame Maxine that he was getting used a little bit. Like he was the one that was way more into the potential relationship. Felt bad for the guy.
Yeah, Hagrid probably doesn't have very many matches popping up on Wizard Tinder. So this is a big opportunity for him. And he's unable to really make much progress, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love later in the book when you find out that they're a giant. Well, Hagrid's trying to talk to her. He's trying to ease into the topic of her being a half giant. And like clearly she is, but she's in denial. But then I love when like Ron, for instance, hears that Ron is a half giant and he's all blown away. I'm like, dude, what did you think Hagrid was? I thought this was kind of assumed at this point.
Just a really tall person.
Also, what's up with Madame Maxine being in denial? She is in her, mature wizarding years and is the headmistress of this academy. There's no way she's come up through the ranks over the years without having to face some professional scrutiny. How can she not be open about her obvious half-giantess nature? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, the wizarding world just has some biases that are really hard to overcome.
So Harry, let's talk first task. So he's got to get the golden egg out of the vicious dragon. He does so with a combination of summoning his broomstick and flying around really nicely, combining a couple things that he does know how to do. The other champions use some more advanced magic, but Harry does really well for himself by playing to his strengths, even though Moody is the one who gives him the idea. Seems like maybe he could have come up with that idea, like, we're flying, I've got my broomstick. But yeah,
he probably didn't know
nothing.
about the range. He didn't know the range that Accio could cover to summon it from that far.
Yeah. It's already out in the castle.
That's got to be in your spell book, though. I mean, anyone who's into D&D in the slightest knows that every spell has ranges built into it. So this has got to be something like way basic in your wizarding spell book. What's my range on the spells?
Yeah, that's a good point. But I was really impressed with Harry that he informed Cedric that he tipped off Cedric about the dragon for real, because this is at the point when the whole school hates him and people are wearing the Potter Stinks badges and whatnot. And I mean, cheating seems to not only be normal though, but it's kind of an expected part of the tournament, which isn't surprising because corruption seems to work its way into a lot of aspects of the books.
And we like Cedric. Cedric is one of the few at Hogwarts who's at least treating Harry decently. He doesn't wear the badge.
Yeah, he doesn't wear the badge. One of the few.
So Harry succeeds, like Dan said. He gets a lower mark from Carcraft, but it's really about survival for Harry. I don't know if he's ever really trying to win the tournament until the end. I don't think he has much of an idea that he could win, but he's just trying to make it through the year, which has gone off to a terrible start for him thus far. And the next thing that happens is he opens his egg and he's excited to get the next clue. The Gryffindors are on his side again. Ron has decided that he's going to be friends with Harry again now that Harry's very successful. And he pulls open the egg in the common room at the big party. And that doesn't go well because it wails loudly and gives Harry no clues. And right away, he's kind of back to square one, having no idea what to do.
Yeah, the whole Gryffindor common rooms was pretty funny, just because Ron finally decides that to put his jealousies behind him and help out Harry. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's because he said that he realized that it actually was really dangerous, and Harry probably wasn't putting himself in that situation on his own just for the glory.
Well, no kidding, Ron. I mean, wouldn't the reputation of the tournament and the fact that you have to be 17 to enter have clued you in to that? Yeah. I mean, Ron requires like visual proof of everything before he's on board with it.
I guess.
Yeah, but something I didn't realize about Ron that maybe caused him to be a little bit on edge. So in the book, he doesn't get his nasty dress robes until I think a little bit before the Yule Ball leading into that. But did I say in the book? I meant in the movie. In the book, Ron gets his dress robes before he even goes to school. And so he's got that weighing him down. He's just feeling bad about being poor. And Draco, of course, takes some shots at him when he arrives.
Well, he doesn't know what the dress robes are for yet. He doesn't know how embarrassing they're going to be. But yeah,
I know, but it's got to be a shot. It's got to be a shot to his confidence.
Yeah, he's probably got some anxiety weighing on him whenever he thinks back to the dress robes.
Yeah, and he had like his cool brothers were visiting and going to the Quidditch World Cup, and he probably doesn't feel as cool as them.
I don't know. I mean, he's best friends with the most famous wizard in the world.
Well, that's the problem, right? His best friend is getting all the attention, and he's just the sidekick. And when you're 14, that's tough.
Still, Ron should have stepped it up.
Yeah. Should we talk about the Yule Ball now?
Yeah, so speaking of dress robes, the Yule Ball is now a thing. McGonagall tells them about it. It's going to be on Christmas. Harry thinks he's going to opt out, but he can't. He needs to come with a date. So Harry's 14. This is his real first dip into romance. He's starting to crush on Cho Chang, Cho Chang of infamy in Quidditch last year, but Cho Chang a very poor strategy in the Ravenclaw match. But Harry likes her anyway because she's hot, I guess, and maybe smart because she's in Ravenclaw. But he tries to ask her and is thwarted by Cedric. So he's got this complicated relationship with Cedric where he likes him, but at the same time, it's like, man, he stole his girl.
Man, that was so crushing. when Harry got rejected by Cho. But I was feeling good about it at the time because you got to plant those seeds, right? And Cedric was going to be graduating, and Cho is only 1 year ahead of Harry. So I was figuring that he could take advantage of the situation when Cedric left. But it's always good to let Cho – I mean, Cho wasn't mean about it or anything, but I felt personally crushed at that part.
Yeah, we don't know that we don't know that she's actually the worst until a couple more books. But it works out for her. It works out for Harry in the next book, at least. His first real romance. We'll touch on that in the next episode. Anyway, not going to work out for Harry this time, but he does secure a date with the Patil twins. Him and Ron get dates with Parvati and Padma. Right? Is the Ravenclaw sisters' name? So they're total jerks to their dates, though, because they're not with people that they wanted to be. So way bad move on their part. But then the other exciting thing is Hermione's big entrance with her date with Victor Crumb.
I know.
The big man on campus.
Big surprise. Crumb. Second biggest twist in the entire book besides the Moody being Barty Crouch.
Really? That's the biggest twist?
Yeah, was Hermione being a highly sought-after commodity? Nobody liked her until this point.
What about the cupping of Portkey? That's not a twist for you?
Or Voldemort coming back?
No, we saw that. We saw the signs. We were totally thrown off the scent of this because Hermione spoke against Crumb in the library. And she spoke poorly about all the people that were fangirling.
Yeah, but you had no idea that the cup was a Portkey.
You could have seen that a little bit because of the Portkey introduction of the boot at the very beginning of the book. But yeah, I see what you're saying, Dan, because Hermione's actively speaking against it. Seems like everything in the plot is moving against that happening. And then it does happen, and it's a nice twist. And then you realize like Hermione was really just kind of maybe embarrassed or didn't want to admit to Harry and Ron that she had this big date.
No, she knows how to play the game. She knows how to grab Ron's attention.
Yeah.
I wish we could have seen Emma Watson with huge buck teeth for the first 3 movies. Would have been cool. Oh, we forgot to talk about the most wait, hold on, let me say it again. What's the word I'm thinking of? Well, we forgot to talk about the most savage part of the book so far, which is Snape like publicly dissing Hermione's teeth. Do you guys remember that part from reading the book?
Was that just in
It was the worst. He should have been fired on the spot. Well, someone had said something about Hermione's teeth and how she had shrunk them back and to regular size. And then Snape, it says like he took a long look at her and said, I don't notice a difference.
It says no difference.
Oh,
right.
That is so bogus from a professor.
Yeah, we know that you're going to continue to hate on Snape because of his jerk, because of how much of a jerk he is to his students. And I mean, come on, man, turn it around a little bit. But Snape continues to be a jerk. We don't expect anything else.
Yeah.
So the Yule Ball itself, there are some plot advancements that happen. The Hagrid Maxime half giant conversation happens, and then Harry gets the hint from Cedric about the egg, about taking a bath with it. But Harry doesn't like this hint at the time because he's got to swallow his pride because Cedric just dissed him and stole his girl. But eventually he is going to get over it. And overall, like, impressions of the Yule Ball before we move past it?
Nathan?
I liked the Yule Ball. I thought it was really funny. Just another, I don't know. I can't remember in the book specifically, but I'm pretty sure Neville and Jeannie go together. So I thought it was really funny. And just the whole thing, I don't know, it just reminded me of like school dances or just dances, going with friends.
I liked when Fred and George were talking about their prospective dates, and I can't remember if it was Fred or George, but one of them just calls out to Angelina Johnson, the hot Quidditch chaser.
Yeah.
And just asks her on the spot, like the day before, hey, you want to go to the dance with me? And she kind of plays it off, but she says yes. But in her mind, she's like way happy that the bad boy in school asked her.
The bad boy in school.
It was such a flex by Fred or George. I wish I could remember who it was.
How is she still available at that point?
Oh yeah, no kidding.
I mean, Quidditch player.
How is like Harry not going after her? I mean, you at least know that Harry has a relationship with her, being on the Quidditch team and all.
Well, she's like what, 3 years older than him?
Yeah, maybe it's more of like a little brother thing at that point.
That didn't stop Crumb from going with Hermione. The age difference.
Yeah, do we have an issue with the age difference?
No, because
I don't have a different.
Hermione matured a lot when her teeth shrunk, so she's eligible now.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
But yeah, I loved the dance, but I just wish Ron wouldn't have been such a jerk and would like get over himself and how desperate he was for Hermione for a couple of seconds, so that we could enjoy the dance a little bit and get some Harry social interaction. And
oh no, Harry didn't enjoy the dance whatsoever.
I feel like because Ron dragged him down. Like when you're uncomfortable at a dance, you're gonna kind of follow with your boys. Like if they're being wallflowers, you're not gonna be the one that ventures out unless you're
like go
really
out
outgoing.
with like Dean or like dance with Neville. Like you want them to go dance with them or what?
Yeah, that would have been awesome if Harry left Ron sulking on the sidelines and went and partied up with Dean and Seamus and the rest of the Gryffindor crew.
That's what he should have done. Minus on Harry for not doing that.
Yeah, this was the only school dance that they had their entire time at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Yeah, remind me next dance that I attend. I want to hear some music from the Weird Sisters. They sound like a pretty up-and-coming hot band in the Wizarding world. So
Weird Sisters.
Yeah, and they're actually boys.
They probably would have given a good performance. But moving past the whole dance thing, so now we kind of get ready for the second task. The book is just kind of like broke up into these chunks where we're getting ready for a task, and then we do the task. So this second task is all about figuring out the egg in the prefix bathroom type thing. And eventually Harry is able to swallow his pride, go into the bathroom. He figures out he needs to listen to it underwater, which, I thought that was pretty well done. That was a nice way to reveal a clue. Like if I'm designing an escape room, that seems like a fun clue to build in if I had magical powers.
Remind me, how did Cedric find that clue out?
Moody had told him. And Moody knew that Cedric would tell Harry because he owed him a favor.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It all came from Barty Crouch Jr. eventually. So Harry he listens to the riddle. He kind of puts it together, but he doesn't know what to do. I mean, he knows that he's got to get the thing that I'll sorely miss. He's got an hour. It's associated with the mermaids. It's in the lake, but he has no idea how he's going to approach this. He also loses the map. That's unfortunate. Yeah. I thought that was kind of like a one-off that was just necessary to avoid a plot hole like we had in Azkaban, where it seemed like we should have been able to see Pettigrew on the map, and we do see Barty Crouch on the map, so Crouch snatches it real quick before Harry can investigate any further.
Yeah, and I thought that Barty Crouch / Mad-Eye Moody was a terrific actor in this part on the reread, because his character, like, first of all, it's a little questionable how good, and I'm going to actually get into this later in my character ranking, spoiler alert, but he's so good at portraying Mad-Eye Moody, he fools everyone around him, like even people that have been friends with him for years. Well, but in this scene specifically, he on the fly improvises a reason why the map would be there. I'm forgetting exactly what it was, or like how the egg could have been there, and he gets Snape off the trail, like totally saves Harry's hide right there, because Harry made a big mistake.
Yeah. Well, but like he fooled Dumbledore, and Dumbledore and Mad-Eye Moody have been friends for years.
Right.
Yeah, maybe Barty Crouch is a little OP in his ability to portray Moody, but I think we'll get Dan's take on that later on in our power rankings segment. So going into the second task, so Harry gets told last minute, or he figures it out very last minute, the gillyweed thing, and Neville should have helped him a long time ago, because Neville was like literally reading the book that he needed. But what happens? Dobby just gives him the gillyweed, right?
Yeah. And it's really a flair for the dramatic, because Dobby knew about it from the night before, but he waits until like Harry's even late waking up for it because he stayed up the whole previous night reading.
Right.
Yeah,
And
You would think that
and Hermione and Ron get taken away, and Harry's left
Yeah,
all
she's
alone.
alone.
Yeah.
this was a task in the prep where just having Google would have helped out Harry quite a bit. Just a simple Google search of how you can stay underwater.
Yeah, it seems like that's something that's really lacking from the wizarding community, some kind of magical database. That's in a lot of different fantasy books, so maybe a little disappointing that Harry Potter Wizarding World has not developed such a thing.
Yeah, like I don't know, like a huge book. You just look up a word or ask it a question, and it tells you the answer.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's this cool thing in the Lycanius trilogy for fans that it's basically like this big archive, and
Oh, yeah.
there's this magical thing. You don't know, Dan, stop.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
there's this big magical thing in the center that you ask a question to, and then it will point out the relevant books. So something like that would be way cool at the Hogwarts Library.
Or kind of like Janet from The Good Place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Janet, or like, why do we not have more help from our librarian staff?
There
What are they
isn't a
there for?
librarian, right?
No, there is. Madam Prince.
Oh, duh. Never mind.
Yeah, Madam
Yeah, but she doesn't.
Pints.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we're missing that, but it works out for Harry because he gets the gillyweed. He's able to go down, and the gillyweed turned out to probably be the best strategy, better than the bubblehead, better than the shark transformation, which seems like a total macho man thing to do. And Harry gets down there. He is the most successful, but he ends up wasting his time trying to save everyone. Classic Harry move. I mean, it's noble, but at the same time, I guess we don't fault him too much, because if you're Harry, there is nothing from your past experience in the wizarding world to think that these guys will be saved. Like, they could very well die. I would believe it based off what's happened to me in previous years at Hogwarts.
Well, he's got to figure that the only person he can trust that's actually in the water is Cedric, and he knows that Cedric is going to save Cho, but he doesn't know about Ron or Hermione.
Guys, I want to share a take with you guys. If I'm Harry and I'm going to save the people, I can't remember. Does he get there before Cedric? It's like around the same time.
He gets there.
Yeah, he gets there. He gets there before. Yeah, if I'm him, I'm taking a look at Hermione, Ron, and Cho. I'm grabbing Cho and coming to the surface. right in Cedric's face. I mean, when I first read the book, I thought it was a challenge for Harry to decide who he liked more between Hermione, Ron, and Cho. Also, it's kind of sad that Victor Crumb's person was Hermione, a person that like doesn't even care about him really.
Yeah, that's a little sad. I agree with that take on Crumb. I don't know about the Cho.
The saving Cho?
If I'm Harry, I take Hermione because she's my most loyal friend.
Yeah, up to this point, she's stuck with me the whole time. Ron's been iffy. I would have saved Hermione for sure.
You're just trying to score points with Cho. Be the savior, right? Help the damsel in distress.
Oh yeah, she would have fallen for him on the spot. She would have snapped on Cedric. Why weren't you there to rescue me first? All I know is I was in Harry's arms when I emerged from the water.
Sounds like a fan fiction story that Dan's gonna write. But so it works out for Harry, even though he didn't really play by the rules.
Who stinks now?
Who stinks now? Cedric stinks.
Yeah, Dan, check out Phantology Discord for Dan's fan fiction about Harry and Cho. And while I'm on that note, if you like Phantology, check us out on social media. Check out our Discord, and you can tell us the mistakes that we're making, what you like about the channel. And we have a Patreon, and we have merch. We've kind of got it all at this point. Phantology's thriving, so we'd love to have you be a part of the community. But that break having been taken, let's get back to the end of the second task. So the headmasters and I think Crouch is probably part of it, and Maxime, they all convene and they discuss what's going on, because Obviously, they have not thought about what they might rule in these situations, although you think you might want to put some kind of framework around the challenges. Anyway, Harry ends up getting second place. So not bad. Good performance from Harry.
Yeah, and so far Fleur has really underperformed in the first couple of tasks. And overall, she just has a forgettable performance.
It's Fleur Delacour.
What did I say?
I can't remember, but
I think Fleur or Fleur are okay. She's French, right? So you probably be something actually different than both of those, but we're not going to try our French pronunciations on the fly. But yeah, I agree. Fleur is very disappointing.
Yeah.
I guess once again, she's just hot. That's like all she brings to the table.
And I guess at this point we've already established that you can't just quit, so you got to do all three, right?
Yeah, yep. She's not going to quit. Her entire country would be ashamed of her.
Yeah. When are we going to talk about the spectator quality of the tasks?
Oh, that you can't see anything?
Yeah.
I think they do a really good job pointing at in the movie. They're just standing there for like hours, just waiting for someone to emerge out of the water.
Okay, you already had this problem solved at the Quidditch World Cup with the omnioculars. Why was there not something similar being distributed for this task?
To see
it was perfect. It was already set up. This idea had been planted at the beginning of the book. They should have just been distributing these, throw out a few sentences about that, adding a whole lot to the book, and it just seems much more rewarding for the rest of the
that, or like there should be a spell to just like cast on the water so it's like transparent.
Yeah, maybe hard. That would have been cool, although they're like pretty deep down. So yeah, definitely opportunity missed here from J.K. Rowling.
Like, as someone who is personally suffering from a lack of sports right now, I'm a pretty big sports fan. If I was a big Quidditch fan and I wasn't necessarily like into if I wasn't really into Harry or Cedric or any of the other competitors, and I didn't really care about the Triwizard Tournament, I would really be missing Quidditch because, I mean, those are, how many matches are there a year that you get to go to? There's 6 matches a year between the different houses that you're missing out on. And that's replaced with this Triwizard Tournament that's just honestly a terrible spectator sport.
Yeah.
So that'd be really hard to swallow.
We can talk about how bad the third task is, how bad that is watching it.
Yeah, also would have been...
You can't see anything.
Yeah, not to mention, there's no way to assure the safety of the competitors either, contrary to what was advertised at the beginning of the tournament.
You weren't buying the safety of the red sparks and the headmasters patrolling the outside of the maze?
No, because I'm pretty sure if you're under the Imperious curse or if you get stunned or like killed or something, you're not going to be able to cast the red sparks.
Yeah, but once again, Hogwarts is known for not being safe. Wizards do not care about being safe. It's pretty much a survival of the fittest, very harsh community, despite the laughs that Fred and George try to bring to the world. Anyway, after the second task is over, we kind of go through several different things that are going to give us information about the plot going forward, the final plot. And I have to give J.K. Rowling credit on this one because in the third book, she did a terrible job with the Sirius Black info dump, but she does much better here by breaking up the information into several different types of, she explains it in several different ways. So there's the whole Barty Crouch in the forest incident when we know that Barty Crouch Jr. is eventually going to go in and kill him. So the real Crouch, Crouch emerges. He gets out of the Imperious Curse. He's coming to see Dumbledore. Harry meets him. Moody goes to find him, we think, but obviously not. So that happens. And then we get more information via the pensieve and the vision that Harry has of Wormtail, and then there's information from Sirius. So there's several different ways, and it's all kind of happening in the same chunk of the book, but it's done in enough different ways that it's really good for me.
Yeah, and J.K. Rowling, she always does a really good job of pulling your attention in a lot of different ways, getting you distracted with semi-plot issues. And in this book, there's a lot of red herrings and a lot of people that you might suspect. Like, for example, you have Ludo Bagman, you have Karkaroff, you have always Snape is, you know, kind of shady. You don't know what he's up to. And you have all these people. You have the introduction of the Death Eater, so you know that they have ties to Voldemort. And she does a really good job of every time she mixes up the twists. So the whole time you're thinking one of these people has to be behind all of this in the back of your mind. You're thinking that, you know, someone put Harry's name into the goblet, but really you go back and forth between who you think it is. And that's something she does really well.
Yeah, lots of villains in this book. You also have Rita Skeeter, who you get some hints here and there. Like there's a scene where Malfoy is talking to his hands, kind of like off in the distance, and we don't know what this is, but it's really Draco giving Rita some info for a salacious article. So yeah, I like that, Dan. I think she does a really good job of mixing it up. And eventually it's someone that you would not have expected, because Moody seems like such a hero, such a cool guy the whole time, but it's not really him. It's Crouch Jr., who you get exposed to for the first time in the Pensieve.
Yeah, and it's a perfect twist because you're suspecting someone that would want to kill Harry in the task. So the last person that you would expect is the lone adult that seems to be helping him and giving him advice.
Well, yeah, but you got to think that he wants him to, because Voldemort wants to kill Harry. So Barty Crouch Jr.'s only goal is to get Harry to win the tournament, so he goes to Harry Voldemort.
Right, but you don't know that as you're reading.
Well, no.
Yeah, so it's a really good twist as the action is unfolding. And I also like the different mediums of revealing some of this information, because you have these visions that Harry's experiencing. The Pensieve is very cool, and the part at the end with the Death Eaters and the wands connecting and everything, and the ghosts appearing, that is also cool. So she's really kind of like drawing upon some different ways that the magic works, and it's cool. And it's very unique, each of them, and they all add a little bit more flavor to the world.
Yeah, my least favorite one was the Pensieve. I wasn't really buying that Dumbledore just happened. Well, honestly, he probably did it on purpose, so that it could be a teaching moment for Harry, and he wasn't just outing the personal history of all these wizards that Harry comes into contact with knowingly. But Harry kind of stumbles upon this Pensieve in his office, and then he comes back and says, "Oh, I thought I should have closed that," or something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure if you watch the Dumbledore's Big Plan videos that we've talked about in previous books, they discuss that one, because that one's way obvious.
Hey, I just for the record, I've refrained from mentioning anything about that. Even though
Good job.
After being scrutinized about only talking about that, so I've refrained.
Yeah, we need some original takes on the podcast, and let's move forward into the plot. So we kind of know some of these details, but rather than bog down the conversation with what they are, let's move into the third task. So a lot of time has passed, or months have passed, and then finally we're ready for the third task. The Quidditch pitch has been off limits for a while, and they come out, and there's this huge maze that's there. I think Bagman brings them out, so Bagman reappears, and maybe this is a way, kind of like you were saying, Dan, that she is kind of spreading the suspicion around, because now he's re-entered into the story, and he's already a shady character. So then they go into the maze, and the rules are pretty straightforward here. Get to the center.
You win.
Good luck on any obstacles. Grab the cup, and you win. And they use the previous points that they earned in the last tasks in order to let them go in staggered time intervals, which I thought was a little, like, really kind of diluted the effects of the previous tasks, because they were in there for so long. Like, how much does a few minutes advantage really give you?
Oh, really? I'm going to push back on this. I actually thought it was one of the better sports rules that J.K. Rowling has written.
Yeah, I like the tigering. Like, I mean, a maze is a maze. Like, who knows how long it's going to take you to do a maze? I mean, someone could just make the correct turns and different stuff like that. But you walk into a maze, like, and you're racing someone, I mean, seconds could change everything.
Yeah,
I guess so. I think.
Go ahead, Steven.
I guess so, but I think I'm thinking back to my Survivor experience. You know, the hit reality show Survivor.
Oh, yeah, Survivor.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a fun show. And on the show, a lot of times they do these long tasks similar to what we see here. There are some mazes sometimes. And in those cases, there's always like this puzzle at the end. And a lot of times there are like extended minutes and sometimes hours that expire before a winner is declared. And sometimes they give advantages to going first, or sometimes someone's got a big head start. And then it ends up being nothing because the final thing is so long that it doesn't even matter. So maybe what I'm saying is I'm more critical of the Survivor rules and not the Harry Potter rules, but I equated them in my mind.
I would have to have a more accurate reporting on exactly how long the maze took to have a firm opinion on it. But I liked it because it made you feel like they were on somewhat even ground. Like even Fleur had a chance, I guess.
Yeah, she had a chance for a second. I think
Small chance.
Imperio controlled Crumb, took her out. Yeah, so what did they face there? There were some blast-ended Scroots. I think were there some giant spiders at one point, I think? And then
there was a Sphinx.
The Sphinx was probably the highlight for me.
There was this weird hazy stuff you had to get through. You just had to like run through it.
Uh-huh. Oh, there was a boggart as well. I think that Harry
piece of cake.
is able to take out. Yeah.
Piece of cake for Harry.
So do you guys think in the moment you would have been able to calm your nerves enough and think back and solve the Sphinx riddle? Because I was impressed with Harry's ability to do so.
Oh yeah, I thought that was a big moment for Harry not to be with Hermione.
Yeah, previously he's shown zero acumen and being able to solve problems like this. If you think back to the Sorcerer's Stone, literally every piece of intelligent work was done by Hermione, and so maybe Harry's picked up some tricks. Maybe he saw like Hermione's stance while she was thinking or something and put that to work. But he got the spider riddle correct.
Yeah, and he also put together the mer people riddle from the egg. Well, it wasn't technically a riddle, I don't know, but it was
he had to figure out what was actually like who was singing and where it would take him. He did better than Cedric in that one.
Yeah.
When I think about it, apparently all three of the champions, well, I'm going to say all four because I don't believe Harry to be all that intelligent. These are four of the lower intelligent options that could have been chosen for the tournament.
Maybe Cedric is somewhat smart. You never really know.
Cedric's a pretty boy. He's in Hufflepuff. I think maybe a Ravenclaw would have done better.
I think that Cedric proves his competence and much more throughout the tournament, as does Crumb for me. Fleur is the questionable. I mean, Crumb spends most of his time in the library. I think he's really misunderstood and a lot deeper than you might think. Like, he's not your typical jock.
Whoa.
And I think one of the things that attracts him to Hermione is her intelligence as well.
I think Crumb, he spends his time in the library so he can be with Hermione.
No, but he's in the library long before he asks Hermione. You think he was just scoping her for months?
Yeah.
That would be creepy. We're going to revise our Yule Ball date opinion if that's the case. No, I think Crumb was in the library beforehand as well, trying to study up, getting ready for his NEWTs.
Yeah, we'll have to double check. We'll have to double check to see if there were any Crumb library appearances pre-teeth shrinkage. That would be the true sign of if he's just about her looks or if he's about the intelligence too.
Okay, so any more takes on the maze, or let's get to the climax?
Yeah, let's just get to the climax.
Yes, so we grab the cup. Harry once again makes a noble decision, goes back and saves Cedric. They grab it together. It's going to be a Hogwarts victory anyway, and they immediately arrived in this creepy graveyard. Things have gone wrong, and Cedric is killed offhandedly right away. Voldemort tells Wormtail to kill the spare, and yikes.
Yeah, that's the moment when it transitions from being children's books to an adult series.
Yeah. That's when you know
Okay.
it's real. And Cedric does.
Yes, you see some of the more complex magic happening as well. This spell to bring back Voldemort required a lot of preparation, required some very specific, hard to obtain pieces of ingredient, although it seems like he could have come back a long time ago because Harry's not his only enemy, but he wanted to do this in order to get immunity from whatever happened before, because I don't think Voldemort really understands why he was defeated, vanquished in the first place. So that makes some sense. And ultimately, his years of planning work out, and he takes his new body and becomes the Dark Lord once again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I choose to believe that the different ingredients and whatnot took a long time to collect, because otherwise there's a little bit of a plot hole that why did Barty Crouch / Moody, why did he choose the moment of the task to be the time when he gave him the port key? Seems like there were a lot of opportunities earlier, or maybe he just had a flair for the dramatic.
Yeah, why could he not have made anything a port key and said, "Hey, Harry, grab this thing," and
So yeah,
off we go?
I choose to think that it was a very, very complicated potion / spell.
Maybe he just needed a little bit more time to get more strength.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and then when Voldemort comes back, here's a question. Why does he come back in tall, ugly snake form? I guess I'm kind of going off the movie, but that's the depiction I had in my head. Why doesn't he come back as like a good-looking, normal guy?
Like
if
a
he
Tom
can?
Riddle.
Yeah, yeah. We know
Because
Tom
he's
Riddle
not-
as a teenager was a bit of a heartthrob. So
He's
why did
not-
he?
Because he's not Tom Riddle anymore. He's Lord Voldemort.
So he needs that appearance, that like physical presence in order to really cement his identity.
I guess so. I mean, it's just like Darth Vader in Star Wars.
Well, yeah, but Darth Vader, I think, had given the choice, would have came back as Anakin, not as pieced together Darth Vader, man.
I don't know. Maybe he just wanted it to make it easier for kids and adults as well to dress up for him as Halloween and be recognizable, have more of a look.
Yeah,
be
it
more
gave rise to a lot of fun YouTube videos with comically portrayed Voldemort costumes, such as the Harry Potter rap video that made all the rounds back in like 2008.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Oh yeah, and I just remember the Harry Potter puppets.
The Puppet House?
The Puppet Pals, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are classics. So Voldemort's back, and then the Dark Mark is once again cast. Again, another good job of harkening back to the beginning of the book. I like when Rowling does this, and it's kind of her formula to set up some things in the opening action where it doesn't seem as serious, and then throw it back on you towards the end when it makes sense. So that's what's happening here with the Dark Mark, and kind of same thing with the Death Eaters.
And when Harry uses the Accio spell too, that was set up well earlier in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a big oversight. The first thing that Voldemort should have done was deactivated the port key.
So Harry couldn't get away.
But that would have been showing weakness to his followers.
Before they arrived, maybe, or also was this a different type of port key? Because previous port keys went off on a certain time and you had to be grabbing it, and this one just activated as soon as Harry touched it again.
Maybe Voldemort was waiting after he killed Harry to go back through the port key, and that.
That's a theory. Yeah, he was going to show up and the war was going to start right away. Yeah. I like that.
Oh no! That's not the theory. The theory is he was going to send Harry's body back through the port key, and he was going to make it seem like Harry had just died in the maze.
Oh, okay. So that no one would have known, and he wanted to gather more power. Yeah, that's right. Because he still needed to gather his power. He needed to get his followers. He needed to get the giants on his side and the Dementors and everything that happens in the next books.
I don't know about that theory, because he would have had to send back Harry and Cedric's body back.
Well, he wasn't expecting the spare.
Yeah, and look at the wizarding. People are able to dismiss a dark mark conjuring by saying a house elf did it. I think they would be able to say, "Oh, yeah, he just died."
He
They
died in
don't.
the
They don't. They
maze.
don't seem to investigate too much into these crimes.
Yeah, it goes back and forth.
So Voldemort, upon coming back, proceeds to do what every good villain does and monologue. He brags to Harry about how he got him there. He brags about how great his plan was. He thanks Wormtail for his service. He impresses his loyal servants. Well, not his loyal servants, really. These servants that out of fear returned to him. And then after Voldemort is done bragging and telling us how great he is, they finally have this little showdown. And Harry is able to Expelliarmus once again his way into survival, and it kicks off this a priori incantatum thing, which means that basically the Latin means that whatever you cast before, now it's going to happen again. And since the beam went towards Voldemort's side more because of plot reasons, Voldemort's ghosts, the most recent people he killed, come out. They give Harry some strength, and he is able to get Cedric back and Accio the cup back, and so we survive, but it's looking way bad as Voldemort is returned again. Dun dun dun.
Yeah. I really like this part just because it like goes on later to explain why. I mean, they had the sister wands and explains it a little bit later in this series, but I really liked how they depicted it, even though Harry used Expelliarmus against Avada Kedavra.
So you were okay with the Voldemort monologuing. I threw some low-key shade at him there, if you couldn't pick up on that.
I actually liked the monologue. I thought he earned the monologue with the kill the spare. Like, he proved that he was about this life when he did the whole kill the spare act. And then I didn't mind the monologue at that point.
Yeah, I liked the monologue. It wasn't too long.
Because there were a lot of loose ends that only he could tie together, such as like the Bertha Jorkins, who was a character that was brought up a lot. That was a ministry worker that had been killed, and you never really knew what was going on with that. And then tying it back into the opening scene with Frank Bryce as well.
Yeah, good tiebacks. I guess that's fine. It's kind of a trope, which is maybe what I was kind of saying more than anything.
Oh, for sure.
That the villain's going to come in and tell us how great they are right away. But with Voldemort, I felt like we didn't need to be told because we knew right away from 4 books of hearing about Voldemort. We knew how sinister he was. He didn't have to tell us himself.
Yeah, but up to that point, I mean, it was just only word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, he had it. I mean, I feel like Voldemort had to prove himself that he was back.
So what's the story with Harry and his wand? Why did that wand select him? Is it because he was a Horcrux? Is that confirmed?
No, it hasn't been confirmed.
Well, that makes sense. Confirmed. He's got part of Voldemort's soul inside of him, so the Phoenix Core wand would gravitate towards him. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. I don't really follow all of the post-confirmed, not confirmed theories about the books. I kind of tend to just like my understanding based off the text. I'm not real into the Pottermore and all that stuff afterwards. Fight me on Discord if you are. But that makes sense. That's the theory I can get behind.
Yeah, because it does seem really lucky that he has the Sister Wand.
Well, I think it also goes off the fact that Harry is the chosen one, and that, I mean, he's the one spoken the prophecy, so he's got to be the one to fight Voldemort, and that's why he has his wand.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff ties together. So after Harry escapes back, we get our final reveal that Dan really liked, apparently. The biggest reveal of the book, which is that Moody, who has always been so helpful and kind and looking out for Harry, and this father figure, yeah, he's actually Barty Crouch Jr., and he's been trying to kill Harry and bring Voldemort back to life the entire time. And he has done a fantastic job, except for at the very end when he monologues for too long and is done in by Dumbledore and Co. I think McGonagall and Snape show up along with Dumbledore.
And Snape show up.
Yeah, one thing I agree with, one thing I disagree with. I agree that I didn't like this monologue as much The second thing, I did not like this reveal. I said it was the biggest twist, as in it was the most surprising, but that doesn't mean that I liked the twist when I read it. It wasn't really satisfying for me. I thought that Barty Crouch Jr. was a super lame villain compared to all of the other ones that we've had up to this point. Even Quirrell in the first book was a little bit unsatisfying. But Barty Crouch Jr., we just didn't know anything about him at all. The only exposure we'd had to him was through word of mouth and through Harry's experience with the pensieve. And we didn't even know at this point if he was actually evil or good, which I guess doesn't matter. We just know that his dad didn't like him. So there had been a ton of build up to this point, and I think I would have been more satisfied if there would have been a clever way to weave Karkaroff or Bagman or somebody else on the faculty into it a little bit more.
Well, Karkaroff was a known Death Eater. They knew Karkaroff was a previous Death Eater.
Right. Yeah, I see. I see what you're saying. That in previous books there have been villains that are on camera, and that therefore it is satisfying when they come out. Although I guess Tom Riddle in the second book was maybe also a similar, like, not till the end did you really understand what was going on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I guess that's what made the third book so good, is that you were already really familiar with all of the key contributors to the final scenes. Whereas in this one, you all of a sudden have this new character thrust in.
Actually, every book, they always bring a new, like, Peter Pettigrew was pretty much a new character in the third book. Quirrell was, I mean, first book was new to everyone, so.
Yeah, you're right. I just didn't like it, though. I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah, so in our other episodes, we do these things called Worst of the Best, where we talk about one of our top moments and something wrong with it. So it sounds like that's kind of yours. But in our Harry Potter serial episodes, we do top 3 and bottom 3. So that's kind of a wrap for the book. I mean, there were a few details to round up, like Rita Skeeter being an animagus and Hermione getting the upper hand on her finally, which is real satisfying. And then one of my favorite moments is what Harry gives Fred and George, all the galleons, the prize money, so they can start the joke shop. That's nice. But let's skip through those things.
I just thought,
bring those back up.
Oh, really quick. I thought that the way that the book ended was really masterful on the reread, because you really see Harry's character maturing. You see that he has gone through something, seeing Cedric be murdered in cold blood and seeing Voldemort and seeing all the Death Eaters, that he realizes how much the stakes have been raised. And it's going to take, he's not going to be able to just bounce back from this and be happy-go-lucky Harry immediately. Like, when it takes him a long time to recover in the hospital wing, and Dumbledore tells everyone like he needs a space. And then Dumbledore gives that really solemn speech at the end when he tells everyone that Voldemort is coming back. And you just know that it's not going to be all about school anymore. Like, it's going to be way bigger than that.
And that rolls right into Harry being incredibly moody and obnoxious in the 5th book.
Yeah, it justifies it a little bit.
So that's a wrap for the book. Real quick, in our last minutes here, we're going to go over our top and bottom 3. So you're probably familiar with the spiel at this point. If you're not, check out our previous episodes. But we're going to talk about which 3 characters did the best and did the worst. So not our favorites necessarily, but like who performed the best, who did the best for themselves and what they were trying to do. So whose performance would have really, whose performance stood out the most. And I think we're going to have Nathan start us off.
Yeah, Nathan.
Top 3 or bottom 3?
Top 3.
Top 3? First is got to be Barty Crouch Jr. I really liked him as a character. And just how he outsmarted everyone and convinced everyone that he was Mad-Eye Moody. Even Dumbledore, I mean, he's got to be his closest friend. Number 2 is Voldemort. Just the fact that he was able to come back, and that's just that fact he was able to come back to life. Number 3 would probably be Harry, just being underaged and being able to take on all 3 tasks and winning the tournament.
Yeah, Harry went through an incredible amount of stress in this book. I think this is probably his strongest showing of all the books. That's my opinion. Okay, Dan, let's hear your top three.
Yeah, I'm not going to be too unique on mine. I've been juggling around a few. Harry's number one. I just think that last scene in the graveyard really cements it for me, how quickly he was able to grab the or follow the advice of all the spirits that were appearing around him and grab the cup in return. That was a pretty miraculous escape. And despite his procrastination through all the book and his crappy performance at the Yule Ball, I think it was a really standout performance. Number two, Barty Crouch Jr. for all the reasons Nathan named. Then number three, I have it between three things. I'm going to say my number three that I'm leaning towards and then give a couple honorable mentions. My number three is Cedric. And I can't remember why I wrote down Cedric now. There was something in our conversation that led me to really Cedric for nabbing Cho, right? One of the biggest accomplishments of the entire book that has to be recognized is he clearly had Cho smitten. So we know that there's a lot more there. And Steven, I disagree with your overly simplistic view of Cedric, that he's just another pretty boy Hufflepuff.
Hey, Dan, I'm waiting for the fan fiction of Harry and Cho from you.
Yeah. Some other honorable mentions I have were the Slytherin house for putting together the Potter Stinks badges movement, which I thought was really comical. And then I thought it could have been Dumbledore for his performance at the end of the book, which I thought was the best that he's done so far. But he let all of the dangerous stuff happen right underneath his nose yet again, promised the safety of all the participants in the Triwizard Tournament. One of them dies. Probably more of them should have. So can't put him in the top three.
So mine, this is a long book. There's a lot of characters, a lot's happening. I think I'm going to have to agree with you guys. I think Harry and Barty Crouch Jr. were the two top ones, but I'm going to switch up my top three a little bit to highlight some others. So I'm going to say number one is Hermione. Once again, great performance. She nabs Victor Crumb, who's, if Cho is the it girl that Cedric is after, Victor Crumb, I mean, this is a great move financially for her in the long term if she had been able to follow through on it. And he's obviously a Triwizard competitor. So Hermione making some moves and growing up a bit. She also assists Harry with all the different tasks and has good ideas throughout, as we expect from Hermione. Although, dang, maybe maybe I need to rethink this a little bit, because I just remember SPEW again and my dismissal of it. So
that was a demerit for me.
Okay, Hermione's down to 3 now, and my number 2 stays the same. My number 2 is.
You already said Crouch and Harry.
No, those. I was like nodding to those ones.
Oh, okay.
And so my number 2 is Rita Skeeter, because even though she slips up at the end and gets caught as an animagus, which was one of the pros in Hermione's favor, she really grows her following, grows her career a lot by being selected by the Daily Prophet to cover the Triwizard Tournament, by writing all these articles that got a lot of people reading them and believing them, even people like Mrs. Weasley, who obviously should have known better. So she did really well for herself, a very dislikable character overall, but she probably advanced her career a lot, and she was able to, probably keep going even after Hermione threatened her. And then my number 1, Hermione was going to be the number 1, but I forgot about the whole house elf debacle. I'll just say the combination of Harry and Barty Crouch Jr., both very strong performances, got what they were going for the most part. So now let's go bottom 3. So back around to Nathan.
Okay, bottom 3. I just have 3 people that I hated throughout this book. I just think Dumbledore, Ron. Yeah, you knew he was coming.
Yeah, we knew Ron was in there.
Dumbledore, Ron, and Barty Crouch. I feel like those 3, Barty Crouch Sr., I feel like those 3 people are just absolutely poor performances in this book. I felt like Dumbledore should have helped out Harry a lot more. throughout the tournament, and then Ron just, I don't know, it's just his performance, getting jealous of Harry for no reason whatsoever. And I don't know, maybe it's just the film a little bit, the movie. Ron's hair in the movie is just absolutely horrible.
Oh yeah, it's a rough hair movie for everyone. Fred and George also very rough hair.
Yeah. And then Barty Crouch, I feel like Barty Crouch should have been able to out his own son maybe a little bit sooner, or find out that his son is actually alive. I don't know. Something like that. Plus the whole rules in the tournament is just a little skeptical.
Yeah, those are three adult characters who let us down. Crouch, Dumbledore, and
Ron's not an adult.
Ron's not an adult, obviously, but that's just a given from Nathan. Okay, Dan, what is your bottom three?
Yeah, I'm jealous that I didn't think of the Barty Crouch one. That one was really good because he obviously failed because he's all about maintaining the order and the classiness and being a traditional wizard. But he has all of these scandals and they like blow up in his face. So my bottom three, Ron is number one because he ruined the Yule Ball for me. Number two is Fleur because I expect more out of a Triwizard Tournament participant, and she didn't show me anything that goes above and beyond normal wizarding practices, and which is kind of surprising because J.K. Rowling I thought would have made a female character more strong than her. And number three, I'm going to go with Percy because Percy is well, obviously there's all this stuff going on with his boss, Barty Crouch. He doesn't see any of it. He could have clued people in earlier. And also there's a scene at the Yule Ball, which he's a chaperone at somehow. He just is back at Hogwarts just chaperoning the Yule Ball. And he goes up to Harry, who Harry obviously has a ton of stuff on his mind. And he's like, hey, Harry, did you hear about, I got a new promotion. It's like, nobody cares, dude. Like, read the room a little bit, Percy.
Yeah, he's like the guy who you can only talk to if it's something he's interested in.
Oh, yeah, totally. And there's at the beginning when they're all in the burrow, the whole family is having a good time getting together, and Bill and Charlie are home. Everyone's joking around. And then Percy comes out and like tells everyone they're being too loud because he's doing work stuff. Like, Percy seems like he'd be the worst roommate out of any of the Harry Potter characters, besides the ones that would like kill you.
Percy's probably neat, so he's probably not leaving a mess. But yeah, he'd be a tough guy to deal with for sure.
I bet you he'd have like Penelope over all the time in the living room, and they just assume that space. They just have like squatters' rights, and then you never feel comfortable going in your own living room because Percy's there with Penelope. Yeah, it's always awkward.
Yeah.
Yep, they're for sure making out in the living room all the time, unfazed by anyone being there. I had a roommate my freshman year in college. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this, but same situation.
That's too bad.
Yeah, so my bottom three, I actually have some unique ones. I don't have to fake it this time. So I'm going to say number three is Ludo Bagman because of his inability to get his financial situation straightened out. Unlike Alexander Hamilton, shout out Disney Plus. Yeah. And I'm going to go
a financial situation.
Yeah, it's the latest thing, back again from 2016. And then my number two, I'm going to say, just wait for it for a minute. Another Hamilton thing. Who was my number two? My number two is going to be Karkaroff / Maxime. Both of these headmaster and headmistress really didn't make me love them at all. They didn't seem to accomplish much. Their schools were unsuccessful. Both lost to Hogwarts, and one of the Hogwarts competitors was 14. So what have they been really teaching these guys? Because that's an embarrassing performance. And then my number one worst performance from the book, I think I'm going to go back to just the Bulgaria Quidditch team as a whole. I liked that conversation we were having. It made me really realize how poor their strategy was, why they couldn't have come up with a strategy that was all around preventing points. Like they should have gone with an all beater team or something and Crumb to prevent points getting on the board, to give Crumb enough time, or they should have added in Crumb as a chaser. Like they could have figured out a way to not play straight up, like play to your strategy, know your personnel a little bit. So embarrassing that they just played it straight up and got steamrolled and were unable to use their best player. So that is my bottom three.
Yeah, and they wasted their huge advantage of having the Vila.
I mean, they used the Vila a little bit, but they were also, had to combat against the Leprechauns. Both sides were able to bring out some
to
goods.
Leverage their mascot power.
Just part of the game. All's fair in love and war and wizarding competitions. It is all good. Such a wizarding competition. Okay, thanks for listening to our review of Harry Potter 4, The Goblet of Fire. It's been fun with Dan and Nathan. For all you muggles out there that tune into podcasts, wizards, you can probably stop listening now because I know you don't know how to use technology. But muggles, look us up at Phantology Books on social media, at www.phantologybooks.com. Check out our Discord to chat with us. Check out our Patreon if you want content such as the Phantology people going in and explaining the mistakes that we made while we're recording and giving you our raw reactions to books that we finish. We are kind of steamrolling through episodes, kind of releasing 2 a week and bringing out more and more content. So check that out. And there's also merch. So if you want to wear a shirt or you want to wear a face mask or you just want a cool mug and you want it Phantology branded, we can do that for you. So check out our socials for that information. So Nathan, Dan, it's been fun. Guys, we'll see you guys ready for Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, can't wait.
We should have some kind of password for the next podcast to make sure none of us are under the Polyjuice potion. We're our actual selves. So let's keep that in mind for next time.
Yeah, we obviously can't say it out loud, but we will come up with a password that's a little bit better than lemon drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. See you guys later.
See ya.